Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm not Dave.
Who would you be?
I guess I am Ron.
You would be Ron. And this is episode 202.
Hello, Washington, D.C. That's your area code.
Yeah, I guess we're in the area codes now. So
We're in the area codes.
So I guess it's Washington, D.C. today with the area code 202 in episode 202.
So if you live in D.C. and listen to the show, drop us a note. Say hello.
Yes, that's a good way to do it, to interact with the listeners of the show. Let's see. Today we're going to talk about things you can't replicate in a game. And we've been talking off air a little bit about some things, and it's like, boy, it'd be nice if that was in a game, and boy, it'd be nice if that was in a game. And then we decided, well, you can't put every little thing into a game that we see on TV. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get to that, ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is the website, digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the text line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email, and over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And if you'd like to support the show on Patreon, we're over on patreon.com/digitaltodice. A couple things before we get going. I do want to thank all the people that reached out to me, whether it's a text or a message or Facebook or email or whatever, and just because I thought once I got through the basement and got that all squared away that things would be getting better, and things have just taken a turn for the worse over here in the Dave household. Just all kinds of you can only take so much, and it just wears you down.
Oh yeah, we all get worn down.
Life just can wear you down. And it's one thing after another, and I got a couple of health issues myself that I have to take very serious now and figure out what I'm going to do with. And we just get hit over and over and over. Like the dog had surgery today. My mother-in-law's broke her back and her shoulder and has to be restrained in the hospital. It's things like that are going on in here. And it's just one thing after another, and I can't catch a break. It wears me down to a point where I haven't done anything on YouTube. I haven't even played any games, really. I just haven't had the mental capacity to be creative, if you follow that. If you've had enough things happen that just go wrong, you just tend to sit there and that's all you can think of. It just consumes your mind. Your mind just gets filled with the day-to-day yuck. Mm-hmm. And all you can do is just sit there and watch TV, because I don't want to set up and play a game. I got a couple games that people have sent me that I want to check out, but I don't have the mental capacity to learn a new game right now. And I'm just in a real bad place right now, And so I do want to thank all the people that reached out to me. It really means a lot. It really does. And, the comments were great. How a lot of people are saying how me and you in this podcast brought them through tough times. And so I guess it's my turn to go through.
We've been doing this a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know we both had our bad stretches, and I'm just in a bad stretch right now. I specifically want to thank the Patreon people who keep supporting the show. And I know we're behind on the Patreon, and that falls on me. It's just again where I am right now. It wouldn't be a fun Patreon to try to do. We will make it up somehow, some way. We will make it up. So I want to thank everybody that's stuck with us on the Patreon, that's keeping the Discord going, and things like that help keep the show going. And I know that we're behind on some things, and even the regular show, the weekly show has been lacking. And that's on me, is because I just, we go to record and something happens. We go to record and something happens. We go to record and I don't feel like doing anything today type of situation. So, no, now that we got the yucks out of the way, I just wanted to thank some people and just keep everybody abreast of what's going on. Hopefully things are going to turn around. I did get a text from the doctor today that the dog surgery was going well. So that's I guess that's the first bit of good news. Maybe that's what's going to turn things around. But we don't have kids, so our dogs are very important to me and the wife, and she's freaking out about that, and her mom and the whole bit. So I got to try to comfort her along with all my things. So
yeah.
But anyways,
Cat's got a vet appointment in a couple of weeks to see how we're doing with all of her allergy issues.
Yeah, she was doing better though. So you got some good news on that end.
Oh yeah, she's good. But yes, it does add up after a while.
I did play one thing.
What'd you do?
I actually, I have the whole new setup down here, and with my TV and the couches and the whole bit over here, and Studio A is now right next to me, next to Studio B, just makes it easier. I plugged in my PlayStation 4, and I haven't plugged that in. It's been over a year when I looked the last time I did anything on that, and I had to do all the updates, because I hadn't turned it on in over a year. And this is the 4, not the 5. I don't have the 5, and I ended up putting in a game that I just like to play and chill out with. That. It's a Ghost Recon game, and I've been a big fan of the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon game since the original Xbox back in 2002. And it's just a mission-based combat game, and I play myself. And I get in a helicopter, and I fly around the map, and I do the mission, and I fly around the map, and I do the next mission. And it was just relaxing, and it was mindless, and it was just fun. And I put on the easiest setting possible. So the only way I really die is if I stand in front of a turret for 15 seconds and they riddle me with bullets.
You stand in front of a turd?
A turret.
A turret.
So
okay.
yeah, there was an automatic turret that I tried to shut off, and it kept shooting me, and I couldn't turn it off in time, and I died. But aside from that, I could pretty much fall from a helicopter and still not die. That's the settings I have on.
Okay, they're James Bond.
It is. This is definitely playing the 76 Buccaneers right now when I set up and play the AI, because I'm just mowing them down. But it's been fun. So I just been playing a little bit of PlayStation just to kind of take my mind off a thing. And again, that's something I've played so much I can do it in my sleep and just mindless stuff. But there's a couple games in our inbox that I need to take a look at. I get the itch to play. I see all you guys playing the games, and I watch the Facebook and Delphi, and I see in even our own Discord, and I see people playing games, and whether it's action PC games or it's Appa. I've seen the Replay Gamers back online doing videos, which is great, and he's into Appa baseball right now. So I've been watching his videos, and I'm dying to play some Appa. So I'm getting the itch again to play all these games. It's just, can I get over this hump? Can something good happen that'll put me in a mood that I'll be able to sit down and with a clean mind and play some of these things. So but I have been watching everybody play and enjoy their games, and I don't know if this is part of the gaming paralysis that we've talked about in the past, where you just can't get to the table. There's something preventing you. But whatever it is, I've been joining everybody else playing the games and following along with some of their projects. And so that's kind of kept me going through all this, is following you guys and do your games until I can get back and doing mine. But anyway, I did play a little bit on the PlayStation. There's more video games than anything else. But it was relaxing, and it took my mind off things for a while. And I guess that's why we play games. So
speaking of video games.
All righty.
City Skylines 2 was released this week.
Now, is that like a Sim City type of thing?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so if you're familiar with I don't know what you did for PC games when you did the gaming podcast. I think that was pretty much all console stuff that the three of you did, right?
We did some PC stuff, but not that much.
So Paradox, a company out of Sweden, I think, or somewhere in Scandinavia, they do a lot of grand strategy games. I mean, these are games that will take you weeks and weeks and weeks, and there's infinite replay value and all that. And so they're working with a company called Colossal Orders, and yes, it's pretty much SimCity. So this is the second version. The first one came out 8 years ago, and I finally have a computer that can run the one that came out 8 years ago. Gaming laptop that this is. And so the second one came out this week, and it wasn't ready.
Oh.
And so after watching YouTube video after YouTube video, okay, what do you got to do to prepare for this? And so I did the pre-order and got my pre-order map, and the reviews on Steam are now up to mixed.
Oh, up to mixed.
Up to mixed.
Oh.
Up to mixed.
That's too bad.
Now, again, in about 6 months, this will be a fantastic game. But it's in the you go back to the Activision, the EA stuff, and it's like, we're going to release the game. We're going to charge you whatever it is that we're going to charge you for. I mean, there'll be lots of DLC. So they'll get us for $20 here, $20 there for the next 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 times a year. And that's fine because it's new stuff that comes out and all that. But they sold you for the $50, or if you bought the Ultimate Edition, $90. I did not do that because I knew better. For a game that they've already had to release a enhancing patch.
Oh,
because in this day and age where this game struggles on high-end computers.
Oh, really?
And the console version has been pushed back to the spring of 24.
Oh, so there's issues, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And so, yeah.
I think I played that.
I've streamed it. Well, I streamed the first version.
I played some kind of game.
And it crashed on me.
I don't know if it was SimCity or if it was something like that. We were playing co-op, but I remember the on the Game Hounds. I was playing with Edie, and so I gave her like the code to get into my game so we could play co-op. And so I built the city. And again, I don't know if it was City Skylines or if it was SimCity, whatever it was. But
probably
SimCity. So I built the city and I was setting it all up, and she built the town next to mine in my game and called it Meth Town. and it was all like sewage and everything, and she was pumping the sewage into my town. Trying to wreck my city. Oh man, I haven't gone back in yet, so it's probably under all the sludge now. But she's like, "Go check your city." I went back. I was like, "What are you doing?" She's laughing. She goes, "Yeah, I set up a meth town next to yours, and I pumped all the sludge into your town."
Yeah, there's no multiplayer in City Skylines, so it must have been SimCity or something like that.
It's still fun. It was still fun though.
So once they get it right, it'll be a very good game. But again, we've talked about this, with the Madden and the NHL and all that, releasing games that aren't ready. And we're going to take your money. They're going to make up for it with a free assets pack so you can put in Eastern U.S. or Western, different style buildings into your city. I think that's their way of saying sorry. So the first DLC, I think, is going to be on them. But, yeah.
Well, it's good that they do that. They at least try to make up for it with something. I mean, most good gaming companies will do that. They'll say, "Hey, something didn't roll out properly." And they have a
reputation, and the games are very complex. I mean, these are not beer. It's not really a beer and pretzel thing.
Oh no, you got to sit in a computer and really concentrate on these games.
So yeah. Anyway, as far as sports games are concerned, my 2001 Action PC Season Odyssey has reached the World Series.
Okay.
And as we tape this, the Seattle Mariners are 1 win away from ending the season.
Oh wow.
They it's been a couple of weeks since we did this, so the Mariners were down 3-0 in Game 6 of their American League Championship Series against Oakland in Seattle. And so it was 3-0, and then it was 3-2, and they came back and hit a game-winning home run, and it wasn't a walk-off, but game-winning home run in the 8th inning by Brett Boone, Aaron's brother, and Joel Pinheiro came in relief of whoever I sent out there couldn't get out of the second inning. And Joel Pinheiro goes out there and throws 6 1/3 of no-hit ball to save their season. It's just like Pedro in the 99 ALC or ALDS or Madison Bumgarner in Game 7 of the 14 World Series. Just, he walked one batter. He faced 20 batters and retired 19. Jamie Moyer, I think, Paul Abbott was the pitcher. Anyway, so Seattle forces a Game 7 against Oakland, and Oakland gets up 8-0 in the 3rd inning. Okay, so you're starting to go, all right, well, you're going to get Houston and Oakland in the World Series, and that's an interesting matchup, and Oakland blew it. Oh. Seattle won Game 7 9-8.
How did Pat Boone do?
How did Pat Boone? He's too busy writing love letters in the sand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there was a woman that used to live above me that had an organ. She had one of those organs on a stand. And
a musical organ.
A musical, yes.
Okay.
I was being G-rated. And her favorite song to play was Love Letters in the Sand. And so it didn't matter what time, day or night. She wasn't playing it on a CD or on the radio. You would just hear da 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 da. It was like the only song she knew. I never heard her play anything else. And that was the apartment that I lived in when Sarah and I got married. So we moved. Actually, we've been in Burlington 25 years Monday. Yeah, imagine that. So that was the only song that she ever played.
Is that a
Thankfully,
good thing or a
it.
bad thing? Yeah, I mean, it could.
It wasn't, thank goodness it wasn't Benny and the Jets, who I absolutely hate that song.
Or Mickey.
My mom loves that song, so I really can't.
I do too. Tony Basil
It's
is so
catchy.
great. Yeah.
It's catchy. But yeah, something like that, or Oasis. Where were you when we were getting high? Like, no. So at least it wasn't too bad. And it was a good song to play in the organ. Anyway, so World Series comes along. Seattle wins game 1. But because they burned all their pitchers trying to get to the World Series, they had no setup starter for game 2. So they end up doing in 2001 what today we would call an opener. There's no DH in Houston. It's a National League team. Mm-hmm. So there's no Edgar Martinez. There's no starter. And they won game 2 4-2. And so they go home and with Edgar and their starting pitching set up the rest of the series. Yeah, they're one game away from winning the World Series. Now, this was a team that won 116 games in the regular season. And so they really were the best team in baseball. And they're 27 outs away from winning it all. So good for them.
Nice.
I've also been playing some hockey.
Yeah, hockey. I've been seeing that. That's cool.
I wasn't going to buy that game right off, and you bought it. Were talking to me about it. And so I've been curious about that Bruin team. And so I played them in a Stanley Cup against Vegas. Vegas being the best team in the West. And in game 1 in Boston, Vegas ripped them 7-1. It's the second time I'd played that Bruin team, and I'm going, this was the best regular season team of all time. I played them twice, and they got beat.
Right.
Well, the Bruins, kind of as the impetus of the show, as a matter of fact, the Bruins rattled off the next 4. They split at the Garden, and then they went into Vegas and took the 2 there. And so game 5 at the Garden, they're down. The Bruins are down 3-0 in the second period. And I've got Gardner's voice in my head. There you go. Can't close it out. Never can close it out.
And boy, your channel can't hold a lead. No matter what sport. No one can hold a lead on your channel.
That's right.
8-0, 3-0, don't matter.
8-0 lead is incredible to blow. And so the most dangerous lead in hockey to hold is a 3-goal lead. It's been joked about for 1,000 years, and here we are, Vegas up 3-0, and Brad Marchand took things in his own hands, assisted on 1 goal, and scored the next.
Nice.
And the Bruins won that cup in 5 games. They won game 5 4-3 and won it in Boston, and that. And so my latest is I'm taking the 2 best Canadian teams with an A, not an E. So Edmonton and Toronto. Mr. Utah Mike asked me if that Edmonton team was fun to play. It is. They're loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Loaded for bear. But Toronto had the better record. So Toronto has home ice in that series. And they have promptly led in 120 minutes, all of 11 minutes. And Edmonton has taken both of the games in Toronto.
If Edmonton doesn't win a cup in the next 5 years, it's going to be a damn shame.
I don't understand how they couldn't do it.
They've had so many top picks, and there's so many named players have gone through that organization, and yet they just can't put it together. I think, how far did they go? Did they get to the
Colorado beat them in
conference finals?
I believe so.
I think they did get to the conference final. I don't think they've ever been to the finals, though, right?
Not with this core.
Not with this core, yeah. Yeah, that's a damn shame to have this group of guys, and even Toronto. With Matthews and all the guys they've added, they need a goaltender. Toronto and Philadelphia.
Samsonov isn't too bad. I forget where the big goal is. I think it's a goal on a 6.
It just seems like every time I watch Toronto and Philadelphia, they have all this talent, but yet they're scoring from all over the ice in their goalies, and it's just like
they have 2 40-goal scorers on the second line, Nylander and Tavares.
Yeah, and here we are. Yeah,
but there's just something missing with them, and it really was. In game 1 of that series, Edmonton got now in Strat. You don't need. Not all the goals are resolved on the goalie card. You can, if you're talented enough, get splits to score on your own card. And Draisaitl, is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Hit the game winner 3-2 in game 1 he took a rebound, and on a roll of a 10 on the rebound column, it's an automatic goal. I mean, Ken Dryden or me couldn't stop that puck, and that's what I rolled was a 10, and so it's an automatic goal. And so it's one of the quirky things about Strat that I think makes it work. And so, yeah, so of the 4 goals Edmonton had in game 1, Samsonov was only responsible for 1. As far as where the results came from on the card. And so it kind of gives you a good visualization of how the goal was scored. And in game 2, Samsonov had 7 goalie rating chances, which means essentially close to a 50-50 shot of it going in, and he stopped 5. I'm not sure Samsonov's the problem, but who knows? It's fun. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I can't say that there's really, outside of the wanting the new season, that there's enough to justify buying it. The Bruins game, because win probability is now standard, I think, with all the Strat games.
I think it is now, yeah.
On the scoreboard. And so when the Bruins came from 3 down in the second, they had a 3% chance of winning that game. And at one point, it was down to 1.
Oh, interesting.
Because it was, yeah. So, but yeah, it makes it's interesting to argue about. But again, there really is no lead. Yeah. There's the 3-goal lead is the worst to have.
Yeah. Well, there's this guy that I know in one of the upper states that's totally into cats, and he always said that 99% is not 100%.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I know him too. It's interesting fellow. So that's pretty much what I've been playing, and it's been fun. It's been fun.
I've been following along. Like I say, I've been in my funk, and I've had my personal issues here, but I have followed along with your stuff there, especially with the hockey when you post the box scores.
It's interesting. I have light source, something like that, which makes it really easy for me to grab screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hotkey on my keyboard. For me, it's F3, and I drag what I want and just snap the 3 shots. And so for Strat, you just open up the report and go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I have a screen capture program I really like too. I forget what it's called now, but it works really well. It's like a snippet or something like that.
This was a freebie one too. So
yeah, I forget what I got mine. Snagit. Mine's called Snagit.
Yep. I mean, there's a few others out there. It just makes it really easy to grab screens.
You grab it. Yeah, you can. What I like about this one here is I can grab a screenshot and I can even grab something else and merge it on the top, so I can kind of combine stuff without going into a graphic program. But anyway, all right, good stuff. So should we get into the topic of the day?
Absolutely.
A couple quick announcements here, though, before we get into the topic of the day.
Yes.
I saw that Hockey Bones just re-released 6667, and they updated it probably with the newer symbols, and I think they added 35 or 36 players.
With 4 new sheets of 9, right?
Yeah,
9 cards.
Whatever. So they must have added all the players, or at least more players to the 66-67 season. I think I have that. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick that up or not. I do like the newer cards compared to the older cards, and where it's only 6 teams. Yeah, I think it's 6.
That's the last of the original 6.
So it might not be that expensive to rebuy and get the extra cards and the new look to them. So I might look into that at some point when it gets on drive-through. And also, it looks like APA redid 1985 baseball, is what I saw too in the newsletter.
Is that a redo or just have it in stock?
No, I think they're in stock. I think this is a redo.
This is a redo.
I'm not sure what a redo means by APA. If it means they've added master symbols, or if they got it up to date,
or they could refigure it under the current formula.
Maybe that's what it is. But
so currently, I'm sure with Dwight, it was Dwight Gooden's Magic season that probably having K's and R ratings, so pitchers that can
probably something like that.
Probably is going to have a K on that card.
Yeah, because some of those seasons are still the original from way back in the day.
It's hard to believe that was 38 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah, right.
What
is 85 38 years ago?
Yeah, it's 2023.
Wait, I got to do the math here. Oh, wow! I graduated high school in '85.
Yeah, because that was the year I turned 14.
Oh, that's probably why I'm having all these health problems, because I'm so old.
Isn't second puberty wonderful?
Oh my God. I've been out of high school 38 years. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah, it's 35 for me this year. 35, I've been out of school. So, anywho,
One more thing. I did have one good thing happen to me this week.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I was hanging out with Ozzy Osbourne. And he was at my house, and my wife was making dinner for him and his wife. And we were hanging out, and we ended up going uptown. And I got Ozzy. He's old and feeble, so I had him under my arm, and I'm walking him around and guiding him around. And I was like, you know something? We need to go to Salem. It's October, and Salem out here is just bustling. It's like Disney World in October. So I took Ozzy Osbourne in my dream to Salem, and no one believed it was Ozzy. And so I said, hey, can you start singing Iron Man just to show these people who you are? And so we're singing Iron Man in the middle of the street, and people are like, yeah, I'm still not convinced that's Ozzy Osbourne, you know? And it was such a fun dream to be hanging out with Ozzy, just walking around with him, and he's, you know, stupid little dream. But that was my one good thing. I woke up, and I think I put it on Facebook at 3 a.m. It's like, I just had a really fun dream. So finally something fun happened. But anyway, all right, now getting back to the serious stuff. All right, so let's start talking about things that can't be replicated in a game.
It really can't be. I mean, some things try it, but it's very difficult to do for some of the stuff.
Yeah, I'll start here with some of the things that are on my mind. Hockey games. Let's take a hockey game because I'm a hockey guy. And you look at Strat, which is 40 seconds a card, and APA 30 seconds a card. Hockey
in the crease is 20.
In the crease is 20. Hockey Bones is 20, I believe. So. And, this is one of the first things I encountered when I started playing these games with Strat was Bob Orr kept losing the puck. And I remember saying, what's going on here? Why is Bob Orr losing the puck every time he touches it? This is Bobby Orr, for crying out loud. And then it was you and some other people who were saying, well, what happened during those 40 seconds is Bobby Orr started with the puck, and at the end of 40 seconds, it's now on the stick of Stan Mikita or whatever it is. And it's not a direct loss, but whatever happened, They
didn't get stick lifted, but a couple passes.
Yeah, a pass. Maybe he passed to Sanderson and went off Sanderson's stick. Sanderson got hit with a check, or it hit a skate, or maybe there was an offside and they had a face off. But whatever happens at the end of that 40 seconds, when we have to see what's going on, it's with the other team. And so all those things I just mentioned, you can't really replicate in a hockey game. You can't replicate a missed pass, or a pass that hit a skate, or,
right.
Some games do have neutral zone face-off, so you could assume that it was offside or the puck went out of play. Again, you use your imagination, theory of the mind type of thing with these games. But there's so many things in a hockey game that you just can't produce as far as like the individual game parts. Now, one game that does it the best, I think, at least of the games that I've played, is Inside the Crease, where they have the block shots. They have the, you check the D to see if they can take the puck away. The puck goes into the corner. Who gets the loose puck? They do the best job of following the puck almost on a play-by-play type of situation. Even though there's still 20 seconds at a whack, I feel as though I'm getting more hockey out of that game than I am from any other game that I've played.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And some of that's boring, and I know that you don't like some of that stuff where it's like pass and block shot and goes into the corner, and I know ID doesn't like that with APA when you gotta check the corner check, and
I think for me it's just that you don't make any decisions with it.
Yeah, for me though, I really like seeing all the little individual things that happen in a hockey game kind of play out. Now the one game, and I'm trying to think of the name of it now, I think it's called Rinkside. That's the game, Rinkside. Now, that's the game that takes 2.5 or 3 hours to play that I talked to Peter Miller about. And that's the one where you go into the corner. It's a pass to the slot. You check everybody to see what's going on in the pass. It is really a pass-by-pass, almost a pass-by-pass type hockey game. That's one game I would like to try at some point. Now I haven't got around to it yet, but that would be a game that would probably have just about everything you could think of that could maybe happen on the ice. Even all the mundane stuff. Lifting of the sticks, as you say. Stuff like that.
Right.
But there's so much that can't be replicated in the games that we play right now, and to a large degree, you probably don't want them replicated.
Well, remember, we all play in the theater of our, as you said, it's theater of our own mind, and we can kind of react to certain things. Momentum, I think, being one of those things. So if you get, if you're invested in one team, want them to win, and the other give up a bad goal in the first period, there was a year where the Bruins beat Montreal in Game 7. I think it was 91. And Waugh just let one trickle right between his legs at the Garden. Mm-hmm. And we knew at that point it was over. It's like, oh, great, you gave up the cheapie. So, in a hockey game, for instance, it just says goal. Doesn't matter if it just trickles over the line,
right,
or if you're hitting the back of the net. So when you have a critical situation where that the fortune of the game in real life is going to turn based on that, you really can't replicate that in the game. In basketball, I know that they've tried to do it with no game really gets a timeout right. You really can't go through it anyway and go, you put on a team that goes on a run of 8-0 or 10-2 or whatever. In real life, you call the timeout. You just kind of, okay, let's get our heads together. We know that we're doing this right and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't do any good in 99% of the basketball games to call a timeout.
There's one game I played that if you called a timeout, it refreshed everybody back to 100%.
Yeah, Action PC will do that to some degree, and Tom Mink Basketball, which is a pretty good game, does have a momentum meter. I'm not sure if it's re-rolling dice behind the scenes or whatever, but the initial thing of calling that timeout to settle your team down.
Yeah, there was a cards and dice game I played that when you call timeout, it got rid of the momentum, and I think it was in basketball. Yeah, so if you say call the timeout, and it did clear the momentum. So there are some games that do that a little bit.
But that's really hard to replicate.
Yeah. Well, momentum. When you bring a momentum, I guess that's one thing I didn't really consider. Is the cards don't know momentum.
The cards don't know momentum.
Cards are math. They're just math.
Right.
But it's funny how many times that we play these games that the momentum just kind of happens, that the dice just get hot or the dice get cold, depending on your perspective, and you just can't stop a team. Like I say, your lead's disappearing in baseball and hockey. And you could see it disappearing, and the other team couldn't do anything about it. And just, even if that other team, the baseball team, had gotten just one run after they got their 8, that might have changed the course of the game.
Absolutely.
And they didn't. So it's probably baked in, I guess you could say. But at the same time, it's like dice and cards and charts, they don't know momentum. It's just, it happens. And that's the great thing about these games is these things happen, and I still don't know how they do it, how they develop games that give you all this. But it's not like, okay, now the momentum meter, is built up.
Some games that have that. But again, I think that, you catch the good break in a game or you catch a bad break in a game. Go the baseball example, the Bartman game. Just because I just had Chicago in the playoffs. They're within 4 outs of the World Series in 2003, or 5 outs. And the fly ball hit into left field, and it's going to go into foul territory. They're in a lot there, and since it was the Cubs on defense, usually the fans just, part the seas so that the outfielder can make the catch. Well, the fan really wasn't paying that much attention and got in the way, and so instead of, it would just be in Action PC, a foul ball, changed the complexion of the series. Alou couldn't make the catch. There wasn't the out. Florida came back to force a game 7. Again, just one of those flukish things that you couldn't. You can have the rare play, and I had back-to-back rare plays in one of those games, but again, just the momentum changer. Everything just kind of lifted out. You go back to the Buckner play. We don't need to describe what that was. The Red Sox had a full game after that, and in fact led 3-0 after 6.
Right.
But one of those things that we knew, and especially because there was because the first Game 7 was rained out sport in New York, although they didn't even try to play it, that you knew that you had that additional 24 hours to let that soak in, that the Mets had won it. They were going to play Game 7, but you knew that series was over. And again, you really can't do that. And if you do, because you really don't want games to be tinkering things behind the scenes. You're the one that wants to be able to determine whether just how you play it out or your coaching decisions, how a game goes. But those extreme situations that I mentioned, I mean, it can be just little things. I mean, you talk about in roller hockey league. I can't believe that we were down 6-0 and somehow we forced overtime. You had this, I think it was you that had it a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
A couple weeks ago, yeah, we came back.
Yep. And it's just one of those little things, and it was Bobby just tipped it in. Or Bobby hit one from half court. It's like, oh, okay, no game can really replicate that momentum. And that kind of leads me to the next thing, which is the emotion of the moment. Going back to, series defining things such as Bartman or Buckner or what have you. But when you're playing something, usually after a loss, when the Bruins had that 7-1 bludgeoning by Vegas in that Stanley Cup thing, again, between games, and you're kind of going to yourself going, what could have I done different if I wanted the Bruins to win? Or you could just imagine what the press would have been like in Boston after getting smoked like that. And the Bruins came out in Game 2 and took the puck away and made the hits and made their shots count. And so coaching, here's everything that we got wrong on Game 1. Here's something that we have to work on for Game 2. We're not going to roll over and play dead in the series. And the Bruins, doesn't matter the score, they went out and didn't lose the rest of the way. That, in our heads, we can kind of turn that into that. But we go back to the 85 NBA Finals. Game 1, Boston Garden, Memorial Day. The Memorial Day Massacre. The Celtics beat the Lakers by 38. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Memorial Day afternoon, national television. We wanted the Celtics to win, but we knew the Lakers weren't that bad. Well, the Lakers won the championship. So they had to recover from just getting the snot embarrassed out of them. How do we change this? And so, yes, I think that kind of that human element is you can't really replicate.
Well, if you think about it, if you got a player that's been up to bat and they're 0 for 4 on the day, do you take him out and pinch hit for him? Because he's got the same amount of chance of hitting as he did the other 4 times, because, again, it's just you look at his card, and the card didn't change. It didn't say if he goes 0 for 3, then subtract some numbers off the card because he's having a bad day.
And you don't know if his wife's threatening to leave him like you would if you were the real manager. Like, oh, poor Bobby's in a spot in his life, and he's swinging at stuff he shouldn't be swinging at. And so, do you pull him after 0 for 3 or
Exactly. But it's is someone is, like I say, is someone is having a hot day where everything they touch is just great, and is somebody having a cold day where they can't finish a shot or a bat or anything like that? I mean, things happen in the game. Getting back to the rare plays, I do like that a lot of games put in rare plays. Sometimes they're optional, but that at least allows some crazy things to happen. Like, for example, season ticket baseball. I think they have some of the best rare plays in the games I played. Okay, and Ron Say was up, and he got a rare play. And when I rolled on the rare play, it said it was hit into center field, and the center fielder hit the wall and was knocked unconscious, and the runner gets a triple. And you can roll for an inside-the-park home run. And so you have to look at the speed of the runner. And I'm not sure if you looked at the fielder's arm on the plate or not, but you did have to do a check. And I said, well, I'm going to roll to see if Ron Say can get inside-the-park home run. And I rolled, and he was safe. So Ron Say got an inside-the-park home run. Now, he never would get a normal inside-the-park home run, but in this game here, but I mean, you and me could get an inside the park home run if the center fielder hit the wall and was unconscious. You know what I mean? Or was dazed on the play, and the ball's just sitting there. I mean, so that was one of my funnest rare plays ever. And some people are like, oh, well, he would never get an inside the park home run. You're exactly right, except if the fielder got knocked out on the play, and the ball's sitting underneath him, and the right fielder's running over. Yeah,
Buckner got an inside the park home run when he came back to Boston in 1990.
Yeah,
one of those outfielder fell, and it's Bill Buckner who had my speed. Hit it inside the park home run. Never say never.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen out there. So I do like when they add the rare plays because that does add a little bit of flair to the game. Sometimes they can be overdone, but if they're done right and and the other thing is you have to roll to get the right rare play too. Sometimes you can get a rare play that's kind of dumb.
But here's the thing that you can't replicate in the game. You get the rare play, which can change the game a lot. So I had back-to-back rare plays between. I had a runner reach on the drop strike 3, and then something else crazy happened. Again, in real life, the crowd would change and the momentum would change, and the team that had let's say, the center fielder who got knocked unconscious, obviously you'd have to make some sort of defensive replacement, which probably isn't as good or different from there. But again, in these games, you just go on to the next play with a randomness or whatever it is. In real life, it's changed them more just the numbers on the field. How do you react to that? Let's take the example of, okay, it's more than just the run and say just having the pooping grin on his face because he's just hit the inside the park home run or whatever it is. Everything, it's like a butterfly effect that you can't get in a game. Everything has changed just a little bit. How does one team manage now and this? And yeah, again, if you're in the real playoffs this year, one of the Atlanta Braves players was mouthing off in the locker room about Bryce Harper. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then in the next game, Harper just torches one to God knows where, just, absolute no doubter. And you'll hear me do this when I'm calling things because what I call in a game isn't always what the text says. So Harper's running the bases and he is just flinging poop at that fielder who had made those comments. Oh, don't think I can do it. That's the thing that, you can add it to a game, but then again, the game doesn't really know, can't put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. So it's so that's one of those things that you really can't replicate. It builds the drama, and we can add that all in there. You get someone that in a baseball game who, okay, home run, okay, and then the next batter randomly gets hit by a pitch.
Yeah. See, in my world, doesn't usually happen when you play. Yeah.
Right. But in my world, if that happens, that's a fight. That's an automatic fight. You're picturing, did the runner take too long to try to run the bases? Well, F you, here you go. Throw behind the next batter and, don't show me up like that. I mean, that's the sort of things that you really can't replicate, if that makes any sense in the game. Yeah,
or even rivalries. You get two teams that absolutely hate each other.
I hadn't thought of that, yeah.
And, in hockey, when they want to beat the snot out of each other, and that's one.
Are you thinking Claude Lemieux versus the world?
I'm just thinking everything. You play these games, and the cards don't know that they don't like each other. They might have a higher penalty rating on the card, but I mean, it's hard to say. It was fun a couple times when I played. I forget if it was Appa or if it was Bones, and I put out the knuckleheads. And they got into a fight, and you rolled to see who they fought, and there was the two knuckleheads going at it, and said, "You paid to see these two guys, and you got it." And that was really fun. How that worked out. That the two bruisers ended up fighting each other, in the game. But again, the cards don't know that they don't like each other. It just kind of worked out that way. The other thing is, like I say, that this time there was one game of shootout hockey I played where the goalie got hurt, and I put in the second goalie to finish the game, right? When I checked the actual box score of that game, because I think I was doing a season replay or a team replay, something, that team had used both goalies in the game. And it didn't say why. It didn't say if somebody got hurt or it wasn't a high-scoring game, so I don't think that someone got pulled because they were having a bad day. but they used both goalies. And in my game, that team used both goalies. That was eerie. That was very eerie.
That's eerie. It's always eerie when you get something close to what happened in real life. You know what? You'll never see in a hockey game. Someone will add this now. The emergency goalie card.
Well, there was Hockey Bones added one of the guys, and I forget who it was. There was an emergency goalie card, and he didn't allow a goal. And so my thing was,
is that the one from Toronto that had to get dressed for Carolina? I mean, that's such a great story.
I'm not sure if it was that one or if it was the one from Chicago, but I do remember seeing the card, and you couldn't score on him. You know, because he played 14 minutes and he didn't allow a goal. And so I questioned him on it. I says, well, what's the sense of having this emergency goalie who's probably terrible, and he can't allow a goal? Because
that was what happened in real life.
Right, but as soon as you put him in, you know that you're not allowing a goal. And that kind of ends the game right there because you know who's going to win.
Right.
Pretty much. I mean, or at least you know that this guy's not going to allow a goal. And I know.
Well, I'm talking about a generic emergency goalie because you would never know the situation where you'd lose. Yeah. I remember playing Strat years ago, and both of my goalies got hurt.
Yeah, I would like to see if you're going to make a card for emergency goalie, you got to allow some goals because. And I know he didn't allow one in real life in the 14 minutes he played, but at least, like we talked about, at least allow him a chance for a goal or a home run or something like that. Because if a guy played one at bat, give him a chance of hitting a home run, 1 out of 100 or something like that. But just I would never play that goalie card because I would know that you can't score. No matter how good you are, you're not going to beat this guy. And what's the sense of playing an emergency goalie? If he can't allow a goal, because that again, it's you might take the net off the ice because you're never going to score. And I get you'd have to be on the honor system and only use that goalie if both goalies got hurt.
Well, that kind of comes to the other argument about as played or what if.
Yeah.
If you're going to put in just he played in that one game, you'd be on the honor that you could never use that card again.
Yeah. Yeah, so I get the allure of putting in an E-Bug goalie card, but at the same time, if he's going to be unbeatable, then I would never. Well,
I think this adds to the mystique and the lore of that. You mentioned rivalries, fans. We've seen fans will or try to get behind teams that needed that, especially this time of year in the baseball playoffs or in football. You go, it was so hard to go into Washington in the 80s and the early 90s when the Redskins were good and win at RFK just because the fans would literally make that stadium shake. I mean, yes, everything is baked in the cards over the course of the entire season. So if when a year that Washington was really good, they would play really well. But those kind of like that sort of atmosphere going into Lambeau, weather. Games do have a weather, but things that they try to replicate. But going into Green Bay or Foxborough or especially Buffalo in December,
right?
How do you replicate that? The computer games can do a little bit better of a job for that. But on a day where it's snowing like crazy and the wind's howling at 40 miles an hour, you get games like that.
Yeah, you're right. If you're playing cards and dice football, it's like how do you put in extreme weather? You kind of can't. A windy day on field goals, you kind of can't on cards and dice. I do like that Downey games. A lot of the football games that Downey has.
Okay, stop me right there because I run the Downey group on Facebook. Jeff is having some health issues, and they are not offering any print offerings at this time.
Yeah, I think I remember you doing that there.
Yep. Okay. So just in case that people miss that. Anyway,
okay.
The Downey games.
Yeah, the Downey games. A lot of them, their football games, they have a home field rating, and they're different for different teams, which is kind of neat. So I mean, you got the Green Bay Lambeau, which is it's solid. You know what I mean? It's a tough time going into Lambeau, but then you got a bad team like Tampa Bay or Seattle in the mid 70s or late 70s, and their home field advantage is zero. Because they didn't win a lot of home games. So I do like when they put in the home field advantage because that does try to capture some of the things there. But you're right. Sometimes you can't replicate everything in that home field advantage. The Oakland Raiders in the black hole, the Montreal Forum. There's just some places that were just so hard to win.
Yes.
And if like I said, if you were to sit and play a game of Apple, let's say, I don't think the Montreal Forum comes into play when you play.
No,
Apple.
I don't think in any of the hockey games that would come into play. I mean, you go back not to pick on you, but that block the Bruins had for 40 years. If you played any really 7-game series where the two teams were reasonably close, I'm not saying the years that the Bruins were fourth and Montreal was first, that would be, you'd expect Montreal to win. But again, there's no mystique and aura block about whatever it is. Or even, let's say, the Maple Leafs in their playoff drought of the last 50 years. You put them on the tabletop, sure, they could conceivably win 2 or 3 cups.
Yeah.
Even recently, it doesn't know any better, and so you get into that. So yeah, the mental block issue, I think, is a good one that you really just can't. The team has a history of X. You can't win in Montreal. The shadows at Yankee Stadium back in the 50s and 60s made it tough for teams to go in and win World Series games. Never mind that you were facing Maris and Mantle. That sort of thing. For college basketball, you're going into Duke and playing at Cameron with the place just hopping around. Nope, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, so those are some of the things that we find that you just can't replicate in games. Especially the cards and dice games. The computer games, they get a little bit more crafty and creative, behind the scenes, with rolling some dice, especially with football weather. They can probably put in a couple of dice rolls for the football weather or things like that, or maybe you can check a button for home field advantage to get something out of that. But yeah, so that just, something when we were talking about earlier this week, we said, geez, we're watching these games on TV, and it's like, why, what are some of the things that the games just can't replicate? And we're not picking on any games or any development, but there's some things you just can't do.
It's not a negative thing.
Yeah, it's just like, so again, some of the things we talked about. So we want to know what you guys think. Is there anything that we might have missed on that you said that just can't be replicated in a game? And not that you miss it and not that you'd want it in the game, but it's just something that can't be replicated when we play these games. Alrighty, so before we wrap things up, let's do our 3 stars of the week. Alrighty. Woo-hoo. Our 3rd star for episode 202, in no particular order, is Tony Zappetto.
Woo!
Tony, thank you so much for being a Patreon and a supporter of the show. Our number 2 star this week is Eric Smith.
Yay!
Eric, thank you so much for helping us out with the show. And our number 1 star here in episode 202 is Michael Martin.
Yay!
Michael, thank you. Thanks to all our Patreons, especially at this point here of the show, for supporting us and sticking by us here as I'm going through some issues here. And we haven't really kept up with the show and a few other things, but we will make it up. I know we always say that, but we will. Anyway, so should we wrap things up here in episode 202?
Yes.
All righty. Let me get my notes and here we go. All right, you've been listening to the Digital to Dice podcast, where we talked about things that can't be replicated in games. We want to know what you think about that, and maybe some of the things we've missed. So let us know in the comments. Ways to get a hold of us, digital2dice.com. Digital2dice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the dice line. Digital2dice@yahoo.com is the email. www.facebook.com/groups/digital2dice if you want to join a conversation on Facebook. And again, if you'd like to support us, patreon.com/digital2dice. All right, Ron, well, it was good to get a show in here.
Absolutely.
Try to get back into the normal swing of things around here, and hopefully things will change over here. We'll get back to a more regular schedule. Mm-hmm. And hopefully I'll start playing something against. I'm dying to play some things. Again, even while we were recording the show here, I got a phone call about, the dog and the mother-in-law in the hospital and the whole bit. So I just can't escape. Just can't escape this stuff. The wife's phone rang 6 times yesterday with the hospital calling about her mom. It's just, this is where we are right now with things like that. So it makes it tough to try to get away and do something fun if things like this are going on in the background. So anyway, I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
Until next time, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.